It's nighttime, and I didn't feel like doing any kind of a scripted video. So today we're going to have just chill talk about my TBR video. I hope that's okay. The point of this video is just going through another 10 books that I have. And I decided to put some of creation books in this video, so I think that is going to be fun for you. Some of them are translated. I know that at least 3 of them are translated, and others are sadly not, but at least 3 you could read. First few books on this list I do own. First 2 I do own first 2 books. The first one being Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. I already read Coco Mellors' book, Cleopatra and Frankenstein. I really enjoy the atmosphere she does. I think she does great family dynamics. She writes great family dynamics. They're really nice, really atmospheric to read. And this is a book about sisters, so I feel like it should be even more family dynamics, and I could potentially like it even more. I'm going to read you a synopsis of this book. The 3 Blue Sisters are exceptional and exceptionally different. Avery, the eldest and a recovering heroin addict turned straight-laced lawyer, lives with her wife in London. Bonnie, a former boxer, works as a bouncer in Los Angeles following a devastating defeat, and Lucky, the youngest, models in Paris while trying to outrun her hard-partying ways. They also had a 4th sister, Nikki, whose unexpected death left Avery, Bunny, and Lucky reeling. A year later, as they each navigate grief, addiction, and ambition, they find they must return to New York to stop the sale of the apartment they were raised in. I just like sister dynamic books. I know a lot of people do. I think also this is probably the most popular book on this list. All of the others I didn't hear that many people talking about, but this one I know a lot of people like Coco Mellors, so I feel like a lot of people talk about this book. It is a literary fiction book. The next book is Supplication, which I also mentioned in one of the videos, and I also have it now. That is by Nour Abi-Nakhoul. I hope I pronounce it right. A hallucinatory literary horror novel set deeply in the consciousness of a woman exploring a changed and frightening world. Sounds right up my alley. Don't know what else to say. Our protagonist comes to in a basement, tied to a chair with a man looming over her, but someone has a knife. We follow her as she emerges from captivity into an unnamed nightmare city, seeking some meaning to her new reality. As figures emerge from the night, some offering sanctuary and others judgment, she keeps moving, making her way through this fever dream of a narrative. Supplication is a haunting, embodied tale of alienation, fear, and the quest for a respite. Also, this book has very, very low average rating, so I do not know what to expect from it. I also see that it has only 557 ratings, but the average is 2.56, which is very, very low. I don't know if I ever read a book with that low rating, but I did hear somebody a booktuber that I trust, mentioning this book, so I do want to read it, because other book that they mentioned I did like. Few that I do not own. Well, all of these I do not own, but I own these ones in ebook form. This one is Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka. I plan to read this one somewhere maybe even now, but in the next 3 months. In the next 2 months. Yeah, in the next 2 months I plan to read this one. It is a thriller mystery. I don't usually go towards thriller mysteries, but I did find this one a bit interesting. Ansel Packer is scheduled to die in 12 hours. He knows what he's done and now waits execution, the same chilling fate he forced on those girls years ago. But Ansel doesn't want to die. He wants to be celebrated, understood. He hoped it wouldn't end like this. Not for him. That's it I'm going to read. I'm not going to go over all the synopsis. That's enough for me. I think that's interesting enough for me to see guy on an execution table. It kind of reminds me of Green Mile, because there is also somebody being executed, and then we're like seeing him being executed. Well, he's like, we are looking at him before his execution, but it is a bit different from Green Mile. I also think, because this guy actually did something. That guy in Green Mile didn't do anything. So it's actually nothing like Green Mile. And the other one is Horror, This Thing Between Us by Moreno, which I also heard a lot of good things about, and I Also plan to read it in the next 2 months. It was Vera's idea to buy the Itza, the world's most advanced smart speaker. Didn't interest Thiago, but Vera thought it would be a bit of fun for them amidst all the strange occurrences happening in the condo. It made things worse. The cold spots and scratching in the walls were weird enough, but peculiar packages started showing up at the house. Who ordered Industrial Lie? Then there was the eerie music at odd hours. Thiago waking up to Itza projecting light shows in an empty room. It was funny and strange right up until Vera was killed, and Thiago's role became unbearable. Pundits and politicians all looking to turn his wife's death into a symbol for their own agendas. A barrage of texts from her well-meaning friends about letting go and moving on, waking to the sound of Itza talking softly to someone in the living room. The only thing left to do was get far from Chicago, away from everything and everyone. A secluded cabin in Colorado seemed like the perfect place to hole up with his crushing grief, but soon Thiago realizes there is no escape, not from his guilt, not from his simmering rage, and not from the evil haunting him, feeding on his grief, determined to make its way into this world. A killer speaker, maybe? I don't know. But the cover of this book is amazing. I love it. It's amazing. I kind of just want to get this book based on its cover, to be honest, because it's so cool. The last one that I have in English is Perfume and Pain by Anna Dorn. Another literary fiction. This one is queer literary fiction. Something that I love very much. Having recently moved both herself and her formidable perfume bottle collection into a tiny bungalow in Los Angeles, Midlist author Astrid Dahl finds herself back in the Zoom writers group she confounded, Sapphic Scribes, after an incident that leaves her and her career lightly cancelled. But she temporarily forgets all that by throwing herself into a few sexy distractions like Ivy, a grad student who smells like metallic orchids, and is researching 1950s lesbian pulp of her new neighbor Penelope, who smells like patchouli. When Astrid receives an unexpected call from her agent with the news that actress and influencer Kat Gold wants to adapt her previous novel for TV, Astrid finally has a chance to resurrect her waning career. But the pressure causes Astrid's worst vice to reach its head, the Patricia Highsmith, a blend of Adderall, alcohol, and cigarettes, and results in blackouts and disturbing series of events. Again, amazing cover. I heard 2 people talking about it, not a lot, and I do have it in ebook form. I want to read it very, very badly. I hope I will be able to read it in the next month. And now for the creation books that I wanted to mention in this video, that I want to talk a little bit about. I really never talked about creation books, which I'm a bit embarrassed by, because I'm creation and I'm not as familiar as I should be with creation literature, at least not modern creation literature. But these are the books that I found interesting. I don't really gravitate toward creation literature, to be honest. Every time I pick up a book, it's always the same theme, and then I just don't want to read it. So these are the books that I actually thought could be interesting or seemed interesting. So the first one is Adios, Cowboy by Olja, Savičević, Ivančević, and the translation is Celia Hawkeswort. This book takes place in Zagreb, which is a town where I live in. So I like reading about Zagreb. Every time I found Zagreb in any kind of book, I'm like, oh yeah, Zagreb. You don't find it very often, at least not in English books, but in creation books, you do. Dada's life is at standstill in Zagreb. She's sleeping with a married man, working a dead-end job, and even the parties have started to feel exhausting. So when her sister calls her back home to help with her aging mother, she doesn't hesitate to leave the city behind. But she arrives to find her mother hoarding pills, her sister chain-smoking, her long-dead father's shoes still lined up on the steps, and the cowboy posters of her younger brother Daniel, who threw himself under a train 4 years ago, still on the walls. It is contemporary fiction, and actually my grandma, she recommended me this book. She also reads like a lot. Both of my grandmas read really a lot, and they both have amazing libraries at home. So that's why I'm reading so much, because throughout my whole life I had people around me reading very much. And she recommended me this one, and because I was really excited to ask her about some creation books that she could recommend to me. So she recommended me this one, and she recommended me the 4 other ones that I'm going to be talking about. But the next one I found by myself, and you will see why I gravitated toward this book. So the cover of this book, originally Croatian cover, not English cover, but Croatian cover. I don't know why English cover is so meh. Croatian cover is this. Just wanted to show you what you're missing. This is amazing. It looks awful. It looks awful. It's so over the place. I love it. It just looks creepy and I love it. I found it in bookstore and I was like, oh my god, this is... If I'm going to read any Croatian book this year, this is going to be the one I'm going to be reading. And it is a collection of short stories. The original title is Sladostrašće, but translated it is Sweetlust. It is written by Asja Bakić, translated by Jennifer Zoble. In a dystopian world with no man, women are rehabilitated at an erotic amusement park. Climate change has caused massive flooding and warming in the Balkans, where one programmer builds a time machine, and the devious reimagining of the stories of young Werther refocuses the center as sexually adventurous Charlotte. Asja Bakić deploys the speculative and weird to playfully interrogated conversations around artificial intelligence, gender fluidity, and environmental degradation. These are 11 short stories, and I really want to read it, and I need to go and buy this cover as well, because I do want to read it in Croatian, right? So I'm really excited about this one. It just looks awful. I mean, the cover looks awfully amazing, like my makeup today. The next one is not translated, another one that my grandma recommended to me. Original title is Povijest, pornografije by Goran Tribuson. The title in English would be History of Pornography, but I did not find that there is a translated version. It was written in 1988, so it's a little bit older, but I'm still very intrigued by the title itself. The narrator, Stanislav Ivančević, is old enough to have the need to reconstruct events from the joint history of Klapa, wise enough to lukewarmly distance himself from the fervor of the socialist era, and disillusioned enough not to look for a way out in pop culture, content, and the language of literature. Here, as always, Tribuson is brilliant in detail and storytelling, witty in his diagnosis, and suggestive in his evaluations. The reader reads his own commentary in the sentences of his narrator. All these ones, different people, successful or unsuccessful, respected or despised, have done with their lives mostly the opposite of what they intended to do. Don't know a lot about this book. When I went to Goodreads, it really doesn't have any kind of synopsis on Goodreads, so I don't know anything about it. The last 2 books are both by the same author, and that author is quite popular in Croatian. That would be Kristian Novak. He wrote a book a few years back, like 12 years back, which became really, really popular, and that is Črna zemla. That is the original title. And the translated version, it is translated, this book, is Dark Mother Earth, translated by Elias-Bursać. This one is literary fiction with magic realism. As a novelist, Matija makes things up for a living. Not yet 30, he's written 2 well-received books. It's his third that is as big a failure as his private life. Unable to confine his fabrications to fiction, he's been abandoned by his girlfriend over his lies. But all Matija has is invention, especially when it comes to his childhood and the death of his father. Whether it happened to Matija as a young boy, he can't remember. He feels frightened, angry, and responsible. The cover is fine, but the original is way better. And the last one, also by Kristian Novak, came out 2016. It also won a lot of awards, and that one is called Ciganin ali najljepši. The translation would be a gypsy but the handsomest, I think. But I, again, couldn't find a translated version of this one as well. People on the margin who are typically condemned to stereotypical supporting characters are lent a voice by the author who depicts reality as it actually is. The young Roma Sandy falls in love with Milena, a 40-year-old divorcee who has just lost her job. Nusrat, a Kurd from Mosul, is in search of a better life and tries to escape danger. Plancic, the PR man of the Zagreb police force, is working to cover up a scandal. In the midst of all of these stories, there suddenly appears a corpse. One can read this novel as a simple crime story, yet under the surface the author paints a detailed portrait of our times and uncovers the tragedies which take place in our imminent surroundings. The novel was selected as the novel of the year and has already been adapted for the stage. Another one that I heard a lot of people talking about. I always find this book somewhere, so it's a pretty popular book. I have so much trouble with talking both in English and Croatian because I just then sound, you know, those videos about like Balkan English, when like Balkans have like hard R's and we talk like this, and I always try not to talk like that because that's not how I talk in English, but when I'm reading in Croatian, like Croatian names, then it just comes out. So you'll probably see the best version of me reading this, but there were a lot of versions where I just read it completely wrong. So have that in mind, how hard I try. There you guys go. Those are the books that are on my TBR, that are my books, high priority books. Those are my high priority books, my high priority Croatian books, definitely, and the other ones as well, high priority, because I have them in some form. So I hope I will be able to read them all by the end of the year, and by the end of the year I'm going to hold myself accountable, as I said, and see how many of them I read. And if I didn't read as much, I don't know what I will do, but I will do something. I will not buy a book for a month, maybe. Thank you for watching this very unusual video. I usually script my videos, but thank you for watching this one, and I hope it wasn't too boring for you. I hope you stayed until I talked about Croatian books, because I don't see many people talking about Croatian books here on BookTube. There's not a lot of Croatian booktubers, and most of them are talking in Croatian. I hope this was interesting to you to see some Croatian literature, and I would love in the future to do a video just about Croatian literature. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next week. Bye!